In the quiet privacy of your room, a cycle begins, one that many are too ashamed to speak about, yet millions silently struggle with. It starts with a simple urge, a moment of boredom, loneliness, or stress. You reach for your phone, open a private tab, and within minutes, you're engaging in something that feels harmless, even natural. But when it becomes a routine, a daily or even multiple times, a day habit, you begin to notice that something within you is changing. What used to give you pleasure now leaves you feeling drained. What used to relieve stress now causes more of it. What once seemed like a personal escape slowly morphs into a silent prison. This is not about moral judgment or shame. This is about understanding what's happening inside your brain and why stopping feels nearly impossible. At the center of this pattern is a powerful chemical, dopamine. Dopamine is the brain's reward messenger. It's what we get when we eat good food, achieve something we're proud of, or receive affection from someone we love. But it's also the same chemical released during masturbation, especially when paired with pornography. And here lies the problem: porn-induced masturbation doesn't give you a natural spike in dopamine. It hijacks your system, releasing it in overwhelming surges far beyond what normal life offers. Imagine your brain has a volume dial for pleasure. Masturbation to porn doesn't just turn the dial up, it breaks the knob off and rewires it completely. When you watch pornography, your brain reacts as if it's encountering a new sexual partner each time you click a different video. This novelty effect releases more dopamine with every switch, keeping your brain locked in an endless search for more. You may notice that what once aroused you no longer does, pushing you to seek out more extreme content, more stimulation, or more frequent sessions just to feel the same effect. This is called tolerance, and it's one of the earliest signs of addiction. What's more troubling is that while the dopamine spikes keep coming, your brain begins to reduce the number of receptors available to handle it. That means over time, you feel less pleasure not only from masturbation but from everything. Eating, talking with friends, working on goals, or even falling in love. Your brain, overwhelmed and overstimulated, starts to adapt in a harmful way. It begins to conserve energy. Motivation decreases, you struggle to focus, small tasks feel like mountains, joy feels like a distant memory. You're not lazy or broken. Your brain is simply recalibrating to survive the daily floods of dopamine you're artificially giving it. Eventually, you may start to feel numb, unmotivated, or deeply anxious without even knowing why. Your passions fade. Your ambitions seem to lose their spark. You may still function, still go to school, work, or socialize, but something inside feels off, like you're watching life through a foggy window. The problem deepens when masturbation becomes the go, the fix for emotional pain. Stress, loneliness, rejection, anxiety, these are natural human experiences. But when the solution becomes a quick release, you train your brain to cope with discomfort, not by confronting it or solving it, but by escaping it. Over time, your ability to handle real life struggles weakens. You become dependent not just on the physical act, but on what it symbolizes: control, comfort, and temporary relief. But the relief is fleeting. Moments after climax, the brain's chemistry crashes, guilt sets in, fatigue follows. You promise yourself it's the last time, but the next day, or even the next hour, the urge returns and the cycle repeats. Many don't realize how much of this is biological, not just behavioral. You are not simply lacking willpower. You're battling a deeply embedded neurological loop, shaped by years of repetition. Every time you give in to the urge, you strengthen the synaptic pathways in your brain that scream for release the next time you're bored, anxious, or alone. It's not just about desire, it's about conditioned response. You've trained your mind to associate certain feelings or situations with a predictable reward. That reward is false, shallow, and short-lived. But your brain doesn't care, it only remembers the spike. This is why quitting feels so hard. You may go a day or two, even a week, and feel amazing. Suddenly your energy returns. You're more confident, you look people in the eye, you think clearly, you walk with strength. But then a moment of weakness hits. Maybe you're alone at night, or scrolling your phone. And before you know it, the cycle begins again. It's demoralizing. It makes you question your strength, your identity, and your worth. But again, this isn't about weakness. This is about neuroscience. You've built a neurological addiction loop. And breaking it requires more than willpower. It requires understanding, strategy, and self-compassion. And yet, this truth offers hope. Because if your brain was trained into this addiction, it can be trained out of it too. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself, is one of the most powerful aspects of human biology. With every day you resist the urge, with every time you redirect your energy into something meaningful, you begin to reshape the circuitry of your mind. You create new habits, new sources of pleasure, new emotional responses. Over time, the voice that once shouted for release grows quieter. Your cravings shrink, your sensitivity to real-life pleasures returns, your focus sharpens, your confidence builds. It's not easy, there will be relapses, but each time you fall and get back up, you become stronger. You learn your triggers, you discover what emptiness you are trying to fill, you face your discomfort instead of escaping it. And slowly, you begin to reclaim your power not just over the addiction, but over your life. This isn't about becoming perfect. It's about becoming present, fully alive, fully in control, fully free. So when you feel the urge, know this, it's not just a biological impulse. It's a signal. Your brain is seeking dopamine because it's starving for real reward, real meaning, real purpose, real connection. Don't feed it junk, feed it strength, feed it progress, feed it your dreams, and with time, you'll realize that the power you were giving away in silence was yours all along. Certainly. Here's a 1,000-word expansion of ***. Key point 2, the illusion of control when choice becomes compulsion ***, written without headings and free of section breaks. You tell yourself you're in control, that it's just a habit, a stress reliever, something harmless that everyone does. You say you can stop anytime you want, that it doesn't affect your life, that it's no big deal. And maybe at first you're right. Maybe it was just a once in a while release, something casual. Something you chose, but over time, something quietly shifts. The choice becomes automatic. The decision becomes a need. And the habit you once controlled begins to control you. This is the illusion so many fall into. Masturbation starts as an action you initiate, but soon becomes a compulsion that initiates you. You don't even notice when it happens. It sneaks up subtly like quicksand. One day you're just bored, then you're curious, then it becomes your comfort, your go-to, your fallback. You begin doing it even when you don't feel like it. You begin doing it not out of pleasure, but out of routine. And worst of all, you begin hiding it, not from others only, but from yourself. That's when the addiction becomes real. What most people don't realize is that addiction isn't always loud. It's not always a shaking, trembling, chaotic spiral like in the movies. Sometimes it's quiet. It looks like normalcy. You go to school, you go to work, you laugh, you socialize, you function. But behind the scenes, there's a ritual you keep returning to. It becomes the secret part of your day. Something you plan for, something you anticipate more than real experiences. You might tell yourself you're not addicted because you don't do it every hour, or you don't need it to survive. But addiction isn't measured by how much you do something, it's measured by how hard it is to stop There's a dangerous mental game people play with themselves when they start to suspect they might have lost control. They justify it, they say, at least I'm not doing drugs, or at least I'm not cheating, or it's better than alcohol. That's the trap of comparison. It allows you to stay comfortably stuck, but comfort isn't the same as freedom. If you feel the need to justify a behavior to yourself, that's often the first sign that it's no longer fully yours. Compulsion takes root when behavior becomes reflexive. You might not even realize what you're doing until you've already done it. You may wake up in the morning with plans to be productive, focused, and energized, only to find yourself again giving in to the urge. You may feel an itch, something unexplainable, when you're alone, anxious, or overwhelmed, and that itch drives you to repeat a behavior that, in your rational mind, you no longer want. That is not freedom, that is programming, and the more you ignore it, the deeper it goes. Even more disturbing is how the compulsion slowly chips away at your identity. You begin to see yourself not as someone making empowered decisions, but as someone giving in. Each relapse becomes a small defeat. It affects your self-image even if you don't admit it out loud. You start to see yourself as weak. You start to avoid mirrors, not just physically but metaphorically. You avoid looking at who you're becoming. You stop setting big goals. You avoid challenges. You settle. Why? Because somewhere deep inside, you've started to believe that you're not in control anymore. And still, you'll tell yourself you are. The lie of control is comforting. It protects your ego from shame. It lets you continue down the same path without having to change anything, but that lie is the very thing keeping you stuck. Because as long as you believe it's not a problem, you won't fix it. As long as you believe you could stop anytime, you'll keep delaying actually trying. And here's the dangerous truth. Most people don't try to quit until it's too late, until their relationships are damaged, their confidence is shattered, their time is wasted, and their dreams are distant memories. The compulsion also grows stronger the longer it goes unchallenged. Your brain becomes wired to expect the behavior. You begin to associate certain locations, times of day, or emotional states with the act of masturbation. For example, you might always do it before bed, or when you're alone in the house, or after a stressful conversation. These associations create powerful mental cues, triggers that push you to act without even thinking. You're no longer responding to desire, you're responding to conditioning. The sad part is that many don't even enjoy it anymore. They don't masturbate because it brings joy. They do it because it brings relief. Not excitement, not fulfillment, just a brief moment where the pressure inside them disappears. But as soon as that moment passes, the weight returns, often heavier than before. That's when the shame sets in. The disappointment, the "why did I do this again?" thought. You scroll on your phone, you sit in silence. You avoid eye contact with yourself, and then you move on, pretending like nothing happened, but inside, you know it did. And that weight stays with you, whether you talk about it or not. But here's the deeper truth: you are not your compulsion. You are not the behavior you keep repeating. You are not broken. You're stuck in a cycle. Yes, but cycles can be broken. The first step is brutal honesty. No more sugarcoating. No more pretending you're in control if your behavior says otherwise. The moment you admit "I can't stop" is the moment you begin to take your power back, because only then can you build a strategy. Only then can you rebuild discipline. Only then can you begin the journey back to freedom. It's not about perfection. You will stumble, you will relapse, you will feel weak, but that's not failure. It's feedback. It's your brain saying, this pattern is deep, but it's not permanent. Every time you resist, even for one day, even for 1 hour, you weaken the compulsion. You regain just a little more strength. And over time, that strength becomes momentum. That momentum becomes habit. And that habit becomes your new identity. Someone who is in control. Someone who faces discomfort instead of escaping it. Someone who respects their time, their energy, and their body. So, no, masturbation isn't evil. And yes, many people do it. But when it becomes something you have to do, when it begins to own your attention, your energy, your self-worth, that's when it stops being a choice. That's when the illusion fades, and once you see it clearly, You have two options: keep lying to yourself, or finally start living the truth. Not the easy truth, but the empowering one, the kind of truth that sets you free. You think it's harmless. Just a few minutes, a private escape, a natural outlet. You tell yourself it's just a release, a personal thing, nothing more. But over time, something starts to change, not suddenly, not dramatically, but slowly, quietly, piece by piece. You don't notice it right away because the damage isn't obvious. There are no bruises, no scars, no alarms going off in your mind. But it's happening, and the more it becomes a routine, the more it steals from you without you even realizing what's being taken. One of the first things you begin to lose is energy, not just physical energy, but emotional, mental, and spiritual drive. After each release, you feel that momentary high, then comes the crash. You feel sluggish, unmotivated, and even a little empty. It's like a balloon slowly losing air. You try to push yourself to get things done, but something invisible seems to pull you back into stillness. That project you wanted to work on, delayed. That workout you promised yourself, skipped. That conversation you wanted to have, avoided. It's as if the will to act starts slipping through your fingers. You're not lazy, you're being drained. And you might not even connect the dots between your lack of energy and what you're doing in private. But it's there. Every time you give in, you trade a burst of pleasure for a piece of your vitality. Then there's confidence, something so crucial to how you carry yourself in the world. After all, confidence isn't just how you speak or dress. It's the belief that you can handle life. When masturbation becomes a frequent habit, especially when combined with porn, it begins to chip away at this internal belief. You might not feel it right away, but over time, you stop looking people in the eye. You walk with your head a little lower. You second guess yourself more. You start to feel unworthy of attention, of love, of success. Why? Because deep down, you know you're hiding something. You know that when no one's watching, you're indulging in a behavior that leaves you feeling weaker, not stronger. And this knowledge, conscious or not, creates a fracture inside you, a small but persistent doubt that says, maybe I'm not who I say I am. That doubt creeps into your relationships too. You may find it harder to connect with others on a real level. You struggle to be present. You feel detached. When you're consumed by the habit, it becomes a secret that blocks intimacy. If you're in a relationship, you may start avoiding real intimacy because porn has distorted your expectations. Real connection feels less exciting, less intense, less convenient. You start comparing your partner or potential partners to unrealistic images on a screen. You begin looking at people as objects rather than souls. Over time, love becomes harder to feel, and if you're single, the habit gives you a false sense of fulfillment. You stop seeking real connection because your brain believes the need has already been met, but deep down you feel lonely. You feel disconnected. You crave something real, yet you keep returning to something fake, and while you're distracted by this short-term gratification, time slips away. Hours vanish, days blend into weeks. You are going to start that business. You are going to write that book. You are going to learn that skill, change your body, or chase your dream. But the habit pulls you back into comfort. It gives you an easy reward without the effort, and slowly, you stop reaching for more. You start settling for less. Not because you want to, but because you've trained your brain to believe that effort isn't necessary to feel good. And that belief, more than anything, is dangerous. Because if you can feel satisfaction without progress, you lose the motivation to grow. The mental toll doesn't end there. Over time, the habit affects your ability to focus. Your attention span shortens. You get restless. You find it harder to stay with one task, to sit still and read, to think deeply. That's because your brain has been conditioned to seek fast, high-intensity stimulation. Masturbation, especially with pornography, trains your mind to chase novelty. You skip from video to video, searching for the perfect moment. Your mind becomes wired for constant dopamine spikes. So when it's time to study, work, or create things that require sustained focus, you get bored quickly. You feel agitated, you crave a hit of stimulation, and when it doesn't come, your mind wanders. You start scrolling, checking, switching, avoiding. Not because the work is too hard, but because your brain has forgotten how to be still. That forgetfulness extends to your sense of purpose. Life starts to feel foggy, your passions lose their edge, you can't remember the last time you felt fully alive. You go through the motions, but you don't feel connected. The habit numbs you, it steals your hunger. And without hunger, nothing excites you. You watch others chase dreams, fall in love, build businesses, overcome struggles, and you wonder why you can't seem to do the same. It's not because you're incapable, it's because you've been giving your power away, drip by drip, in moments that feel private but have massive public consequences. And then there's shame, the silent weight you carry. After each time, there's a voice that whispers, "What are you doing?" That voice grows louder the more you ignore it. It tells you that you're wasting your life, that you're better than this, that you were made for more. But instead of listening, you mute it. You distract yourself, you promise to change tomorrow, and yet tomorrow looks like today. And that cycle of shame becomes a heavy burden, one that slowly erodes your self-respect. But the most dangerous thing masturbation can steal isn't time, energy, or even confidence, it's hope. The belief that you can rise above this, that you can break free, that you can build something extraordinary. When you've tried to quit and failed again and again, it's easy to stop trying, to convince yourself that this is just part of who you are. But that's the final lie. You were not born with this habit. It's not in your DNA. It's something you learned, and what can be learned can also be unlearned. So if you feel like you've lost something, your energy, your edge, your focus, your fire, it's not gone forever. It's just buried beneath the habit, and with effort, honesty, and discipline, you can dig it out, you can take it back. You can live with clear eyes, open heart, and full strength, but only if you stop underestimating what this habit is costing you. Because the price is high, and the longer you ignore it, the more it takes. The good news, it's not too late. Not if you start today. Not if you finally decide to stop giving away the best parts of your life to something that gives you nothing in return. There comes a moment when silence becomes louder than noise, when the weight of your private habits presses so heavily on your shoulders that you can't ignore it anymore. You've tried brushing it off, you've told yourself it doesn't matter, but somewhere deep inside, something keeps whispering, you're meant for more. That whisper might be faint, but it never dies. And the moment you choose to listen to it, really listen, is the moment you begin the long but powerful journey from addiction to discipline. It's not about shame, it's not about being dirty or broken, it's about truth, and the truth is you are not weak. You've just been out of alignment with your purpose. Reclaiming your power begins with awareness, not just a casual recognition that you have a habit, but a raw and honest admission that it's costing you something. You can't change what you don't face, and facing this addiction requires more than motivation, it requires a decision. A decision to stop living on autopilot, a decision to stop numbing your pain and start understanding it. Because the truth is, most addictions are not about pleasure, they are about pain. You're not just escaping boredom or lust. You're escaping something deeper. Maybe loneliness, maybe stress, maybe a feeling of not being good enough. And masturbation offers a fast exit, a quick moment where all that disappears, but it comes back every time. Until you stop running and start asking, why am I really doing this? That question is where change begins. Because when you stop trying to fight your addiction and start trying to understand it, everything shifts. You begin to see the triggers, the loneliness late at night, the scrolling that leads to temptation, the stress that builds until you need a release. And when you understand your triggers, you can begin to prepare for them. You can create a system that doesn't just rely on willpower, but on structure. Willpower is like a match. It burns fast and dies quickly. Discipline is a fire you build with consistency, habits, and intentional decisions. If you want to quit, you need more than motivation. You need a plan. That plan starts with small wins. Don't try to be perfect overnight. Try to be better today than you were yesterday. One less urge acted on. One more day without relapse. One more journal entry. One more walk. One more push-up. One more minute of resisting the temptation. These victories build momentum. They rebuild your self-trust. And self-trust is the foundation of discipline. Because every time you keep your word to yourself, you become stronger. Every time you say no to the old habit and yes to a better choice, you become someone different. Someone better, someone closer to who you were always meant to be, but it won't be easy. You will feel cravings. You will feel frustration. You will have days where you question if it's even worth it. That's normal. That's part of the process, but discipline is not about feeling like doing something. It's about doing it anyway. It's waking up and choosing growth over comfort. It's choosing long-term gain over short-term relief. It's reminding yourself that you're not quitting masturbation because it's wrong. You're quitting because you want your life back. You want your focus back, your confidence, your energy, your time, your freedom, and yes, you can take it all back. Your brain is not permanently damaged. It's plastic. It rewires with every choice you make. The longer you stay away from compulsive habits, the more your brain starts to heal. Dopamine levels balance out, motivation returns, focus sharpens. Real pleasure starts to feel exciting again. The fog lifts, the numbness fades, you begin to see the world and yourself with new clarity, and that's when you realize that this journey was never just about quitting a habit. It was about discovering who you are without it. That discovery is beautiful, because underneath the addiction is a version of you that's strong, focused, driven, and powerful. A version of you that's not afraid of discomfort. A version of you that chases meaning instead of escape. That version has always been there. You just buried him under moments of relief, but now you're digging him back out. Every day you resist, you chip away at the addiction. Every day you act with discipline, you reveal your real self. And the real you doesn't need porn, doesn't need constant stimulation, doesn't need to escape. The real you wants to build, to create, to lead, to love. But to become that version of yourself, you have to stop doing it alone. Isolation feeds addiction. Connection destroys it. Tell someone, join a group, write about your journey. Find a coach, a mentor, a friend, anyone who can help keep you accountable. Not because you're weak, but because you're wise enough to know that freedom is a team sport. You don't need to shout it from the rooftops, but you do need to speak it. Secrets grow in silence. Speak your truth, and you take away the addiction's power. At the same time, you have to replace the habit, not just remove it. Nature hates a vacuum. If you just stop masturbating, but don't fill your time and energy with something meaningful, you'll relapse again and again. So replace it with progress. Hit the gym, build a business, learn an instrument, volunteer, meditate. Journal, chase a goal that stretches you, not just to stay busy, but to feel alive. You have energy now. Use it, transform it, turn it into something that inspires you, because when you're deeply connected to your mission, urges lose their grip. When you wake up with purpose, the last thing you want is to waste your strength on a screen, and on the days you fall. Forgive yourself, don't spiral, don't throw away your progress because of one moment. This isn't about perfection. This is about direction. If you fall, get up quickly, learn from it, ask yourself what triggered it, what you can do differently, and how you'll show up better next time. That's growth, that's power, that's how discipline is built, not in the absence of failure, but in the decision to rise again after it. So when you feel the urge, pause, breathe, remind yourself that you're not a slave to your desires. You are the master of your mind, the driver of your life. Every time you say no to a fleeting temptation, you say yes to something bigger. You say yes to your future. You say yes to your strength. You say yes to your freedom. And little by little, that strength becomes your identity. You no longer crave escape. You crave growth. You crave depth. You crave the feeling of being fully awake, fully present, fully alive. And that, more than anything, is what this journey is about, not quitting a habit, but reclaiming your power. Because you were never meant to live in chains, you were born to be free.